Here's an expanded, seamless rewrite of the story as a flowing narrative with no headings or breaks. Just pure, immersive storytelling to ramp up the drama, tension, and sweet revenge payoff while keeping the core elements intact. I've fleshed it out with richer sensory details, deeper emotional beats, and smoother pacing for that viral video narration vibe. The morning sun was already baking the Arizona soil when the low rumble of a diesel engine shattered the quiet of Willowbrook Estates. Marcus Tatum stood on his porch, coffee mug forgotten in his hand, watching the massive yellow excavator crawl down the street like a predator on the hunt. Its bucket hung poised, ready to tear into the rows of Cabernet vines he'd planted with his own hands. Vines heavy with grapes that were just days from harvest, each cluster a living piece of Elena, his late wife, whose ashes he'd scattered gently between the rows 18 months earlier. The air carried the sweet, green scent of ripening fruit mixed with the sharp bite of exhaust. This wasn't just a garden. It was her memorial, her dream of wine country brought to life in the desert after cancer took her away and left him hollow. Constance Whitfield, the HOA president who'd ruled the neighborhood like a queen for 27 years, stepped out of her gleaming white Escalade with the confidence of someone who never questioned her power. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, she was already live streaming to the HOA Facebook group. Today we're finally enforcing community standards, she announced to her growing audience, voice crisp and triumphant. This unauthorized agricultural operation ends now. Robert Sterling, her loyal board's sidekick, nodded along like a bobblehead, while neighbors gathered on porches and driveways, some curious, others uneasy. Marcus had known this moment was coming. The certified violation letters had arrived weeks ago. No commercial farming. Remove immediately. $500 daily fines. He'd explained it was no business, just a private memorial for his wife, but Constance's reply had been ice cold. I don't care if it's from Mother Teresa. Agriculture lowers values and attracts the wrong element. The wrong element. Those words had burned in his gut. A former Marine combat engineer who'd spent 20 years building and demolishing under fire, now facing a suburban tyrant in designer heels. But Marcus hadn't spent the intervening weeks grieving. He'd analyzed, planned, gathered intel like it was a mission briefing. Old property documents spread across his kitchen table revealed the first crack. His 2.5-acre lot had an odd L-shaped boundary from a 1960s survey error, one that had never been annexed into the HOA covenants. Then came the real bombshell at the county recorder's office. Yellowed 1965 maps showing a 50-foot utility easement running straight through what everyone called the common area. The pristine strip where the HOA held barbecues, yoga classes, and, most crucially, where their beloved clubhouse sat. According to every official record, that land, that building, those parking spaces and pool deck belonged to him. Not the HOA. Him. For 36 years, they'd collected fees, built structures, and issued rules while literally standing on property they never owned. And Marcus had paid the taxes on it the entire time. He'd kept that card hidden, letting Constance escalate. She trespassed nightly to snap photos for her case. His security cameras captured every step. She poisoned vines at 2:47 a.m. with herbicide, leaving the empty bottle behind like a signature. She bribed the excavator operator for extra damage, not knowing Tony had recorded the call and was fed up with her harassment of his family's business. She even filed a false police report claiming Marcus threatened her, while her own discriminatory comments about certain types of residents needing enhanced oversight were caught on audio by neighbors like Carmen Williams. The resistance grew quietly. Mrs. Patterson, with her thick folder of absurd violations, lawn gnomes measured to the inch, the Santos family documenting decibel meter nonsense for toddlers' laughter, Jake Rodriguez, the treasurer, uncovering $157,000 in no-bid contracts funneled to Constance's relatives. They met over coffee, shared evidence, and waited. Sarah Kim, the sharp attorney Jake recommended, called it the most beautiful property rights case she'd seen in 15 years. Fraud, unjust enrichment, discriminatory enforcement, potential federal fair housing violations, and a civil claim worth hundreds of thousands. And now the excavator roared to life. The bucket bit into the earth with a wet crunch, ripping up the outer rows. Purple juice splattered the driveway like spilled wine, grape clusters scattering across concrete. The sweet smell of crushed fruit mixed with diesel, and Marcus stepped forward, bathrobe flapping, playing the desperate veteran for the cameras. Please, just one more week. They're almost ready. Constance smiled wider. Time's up, Mr. Tatum. Tony continued carefully, avoiding the memorial roses where Elena's ashes rested, but the destruction was real enough to sting. The live stream hit over 100 viewers, comments pouring in. Then, at 8:15, Sheriff Martinez's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. The excavator's engine died to silence. The bucket frozen midair, hydraulic fluid dripping like slow tears. The sheriff stepped out, calm and unhurried, surveying the scene. Constance straightened, ready to explain legitimate enforcement. "Ma'am," he said, locking eyes with her, "I need to see your authority to excavate this property." "Of course, Sheriff. I'm Constance Whitfield, HOA President. We're enforcing Section 7.3. And who owns the land where you're digging?" "Mr. Tatum, but the HOA has." The sheriff cut her off gently. "Mr. Tatum, those documents we discussed." Marcus handed over the folder. Certified surveys, deeds, tax records, the works. The sheriff reviewed them on the spot while the crowd held its breath. Constance's live stream climbed past 120 viewers. Then the question that ended it all: "Ma'am, who gave your HOA permission to build that clubhouse on Mr. Tatum's property?" The silence was deafening. Constance went ghost white. "That's impossible. The clubhouse is on common area. It's been there for decades." "According to these official county records," the sheriff said, holding up the maps, "it sits entirely on Mr. Tatum's land. 36 years of occupation without title." The crowd gasped. Tony pulled out his phone. "She offered me $500 yesterday to cause extra damage. I recorded it." Jake stepped up with financials. Over $157,000 in rig contracts to her family. Sarah Kim appeared like justice incarnate. We have evidence of fraud, theft, and discrimination. Sheriff Martinez didn't hesitate. Mrs. Whitfield, you're under arrest for criminal trespassing, vandalism, filing false reports. Handcuffs clicked as she shrieked about property values and sacrifices. The live stream peaked at over 200, capturing every second of her unraveling. The excavator was loaded away. Neighbors cheered, Mrs. Patterson loudest of all. Marcus stood among the ruined vines, breathing in the mingled scents of crushed grapes and diesel, and smiled. Elena would have loved this. In the weeks that followed, the HOA transformed. Jake became interim president, promising transparency. Constance faced charges, fines, a suspended real estate license, and a $150,000 settlement. Her family's business dried up. Their house went on the market, price slashed twice, still unsold. Marcus harvested what remained. Adversity had concentrated the sugars beautifully and bottled 180 bottles of Justice Vintage 2024, Elena's memorial reserve. The Sonoran Wine Club bought the lot, funding scholarships for military spouses in engineering. With part of the settlement, he turned the damaged section into a community garden, raised beds, benches, fruit trees. Neighbors planted together. Laughter filled the air again, and the vineyard rebuilt stronger. Property values rose once the fear lifted. 2 years later, the vines stretched across the full acres, buds promising another harvest. Sarah, now his partner, poured coffee as they watched the sunrise. Elena's plaque gleamed in the light. Justice, like fine wine, had aged perfectly, complex, satisfying, and best shared with those who fought back. And somewhere in the quiet rose, the sweetest revenge ripened under the desert sun.